In this fourth video from War, Art and Visual Culture London, Professor Anna Carden-Coyne from the University of Manchester talks to the artist Alketa Zafar Maripa. I hope you enjoyed this video.
First of all, Alketa is a conceptual artist and activist who has exhibited widely in Europe. She spent her childhood in Kosovo, but she went to art school in London, and while she was at art school in London, the civil war, or the war in Kosovo broke out in 1998, and she was stranded here and became an asylum seeker. And I suppose this is a pretty defining moment in your life. And she's gone on to do some really important work in the area of both sexual violence and also refugees. So I will hand it over to you, Alketa.
Thank you so much. I will show...
You want the video?
Yes, I will focus on the Thinking of You, the art installation in Kosovo that is dedicated to more than 20,000 survivors of sexual violence during the war. So it's going to be a very short presentation, and then the video will play at the back with no voice. So you just will see more or less the whole process.
Do you want to sit?
No, it's okay. I can read it here because I want to read that. Thank you so much. Generally, my art work centers on identity, memory, and the truth. More specifically, it focuses on human rights issues, ranging from the refugee crisis, sexual violence, to gender equality and freedom of speech. My passion lies in my commitment to social justice by creating art that encourages people to reflect on these issues, be part of it, and make a difference. The desire to visualize what words sometimes cannot say is what motivates my work. It becomes a mission of truth for the lost, the forgotten, and the unsayable to be seen and heard. In 2013, I came across a TV interview about the survivor of sexual violence in Kosovo. I watched a woman hiding behind the curtain in the hope of remaining anonymous, sharing her traumatic experience. She told her story of sexual brutality. I listened to her speak about how the trauma did not just end with this horrific and brutal act, as she was not only sexually violated, but she was then stigmatized by the society in which she grew up and loved. She had to live with the fear of embarrassing her family. She was viewed as the woman without an honor. I couldn't believe that on top of the reality, she was forced to carry around the crushing feeling of guilt and shame, bearing a lifelong burden without having ever even committing the crime. I knew she was not alone, that there were many in the dark, hidden, that remained silent. Many women were encouraged by their families not to speak about sexual violence they experienced during the war. Sexual violence still continues to be used as an instrument of war, and its victims remain unrecognized and silent globally. After having watched that interview, I knew I needed to act. I wanted these women to break the silence. I wanted to fight the stigma. I wanted them to know that I am thinking of you, that we are all thinking of you, and you're not alone. I wanted to do something that would involve the entire community, not only the women who experienced sexual violence. I wanted the survivors to feel the solidarity of a nation coming together to help and give. So I called on man and woman to donate a skirt or a dress to recognize the survivors. I wanted to create a piece that shows that there is no shame and there is no stigma. I wanted to bring this issue into man's world, to a public space. I decided to take this hidden private issue that no one wanted to talk about and place it in the main football arena in Pristina. I decided to create a piece where thousands of skirts and dresses would be hung on washing lines across the stadium. No longer would the voices be hidden behind the curtain. Across Kosovo, man and woman, young and old, came forward to donate the skirt, to join this activist art installation by making everyone part of the installation by the very act of going to each city and collecting the skirt and talking to the survivors. The piece took a life of its own. It became a journey of listening to the stories from all over Kosovo. It became a place where women shared their stories and their concerns. It was very emotional and deep learning experience for me and for all who helped and participated. For many of the survivors, participating, giving their skirts and hanging them was an emotional acting calm of letting go and giving them an opportunity to speak and feel empowered together. That's what makes art work worthwhile. Having access to the masses, making work under the skyline that is accessible to everyone and not only to a few. And this is why I refer to the power of art. What art can achieve when it's visually represented in front of you, regardless of language, faith, or nationality. Despite having its roots in Kosovo, the art installation, Thinking of You, is dedicated to all the survivors of sexual violence all over the world. It has a universal language of its own that can be understood and felt by everyone. Thinking of You brought us together in remembering their pain and honoring the 20,000 survivors. We came together to assure them that they did nothing wrong, to tell them that we are all thinking of you. I believe that art is an effective medium for human expression and resistance. It can influence masses beyond the borders and public understanding of what is important and how to interact with it. It's about creating open conversation with a diversity of voices and meaning that can hopefully lead to social change. I do not have the power to make laws or policies. All I have is my creativity, my art, therefore I use to address important issues. Thank you. Thing, as I said, started with an interview that I saw it on the TV, and I was at the time just in holiday in Kosovo, and as I saw that woman speaking behind the curtain, I felt kind of ashamed as a Kosovan, kind of how they still cannot come forward and say of all the crimes that have committed to them. And that obviously comes with stigmatization, because obviously they experienced war twice, because post-war, from the society. So I started thinking, how can I address this such a fragile and sensitive issue? Because they wanted their voices to be heard. We wanted the world to know that there are more than 20,000 survivors of sexual violence in Kosovo. These wars were, these crimes happened. And so, as I started talking to them, and each one of them said, one thing you don't want to know, to reveal is the face and the names and all of that. Then I started thinking because sometimes we as artists, we can be very selfish. We make artwork, just, our names and us, to be out there. I wanted to see how can I get involved in institutions, the government, the society. How can the society come to terms that yes, there was survivors. So I started thinking of the skirts. And skirts, not only collecting skirts, but survivors donating skirts, and then society donating. So I called upon man and woman, take one from your wife, from your sister, from your neighbor, from man, kind of bring the skirts. So that act of collectiveness, kind of coming together, the survivors seeing that as all is one, and people are kind of addressing this issue and bringing it to life. So the skirts, and then washing them in a washing line, basically talking about, let's talk about our dirty laundry out there, but the clothes are clean because they are in a washing line, telling them that you haven't committed any crime, putting it in a football stadium, very masculine kind of feel, and where in actually there were some crimes committed in the football stadium in Kosovo as well. So the whole symbolism of dresses, washing line, football stadium, I think it reached a global language where that was my mission, kind of to send it to how can I say, to show the world that these crimes were committed. And yeah, so I think I achieved that because, as I said, I do not have in my hands the laws and policies, but through this artwork, lots of doors were open. After the laws changed, the policies has changed, so slowly survivors are coming up in front and talking about this issue as well.